Hello everyone. So the next plant hormone which we will be going to study is about the ethylene. So in these slides basically what we will be going to study is about what is ethylene, how the biosynthesis and transport of the ethylene is being taken place in the plants, then what are the psychological effects such as abscission, flowering, epinasty, rooting and fruit ripening. So all these functions we will be going to study in these slides. So let's get started with the first slide of what is ethylene. So ethylene is basically a gaseous hormone. So unlike the rest of the plant hormone, ethylene is a gaseous hormone. Like abscisic acid. If we take the example of abscisic acid, then it is the only member of its class. But in case of ethylene, it is one of the known plant growth substance, and ethylene has a simplest structure. Ethylene has the simplest structure. Then it is produced in all the higher plants and usually associated with fruit ripening and the triple response. So the main function of ethylene comes in the fruit ripening. Whenever we hear the word ethylene in the plant hormone, the first thing which comes in our mind is about the fruit ripening, that it plays a major role in the fruit ripening and the triple response. So the triple response is basically on dark brown pea seedlings, which include reduced stem elongation, increased stem thickening and horizontal growth habit and horizontal growth habit. So this is the triple response in the ethylene case. So next is about the biosynthesis and transport, that how the biosynthesis and transport is being taken place in the higher plants in case of ethylene. So ethylene is produced by almost all the parts of higher plants. So in general, meristematic regions are active sites of ethylene biosynthesis. In general, meristematic regions, they are basically the active sites of ethylene biosynthesis. So the rate of production depends on the type of tissue and the stage of development. Its synthesis increases in tissues undergoing senescence and ripening. So the synthesis of ethylene increases in tissues and undergoing senescence or ripening. Ethylene biosynthesis is increased by stress conditions. So the ethylene synthesis is increased in the stress condition where there is drought, there is flooding, there is chilling or mechanical wounding. So auxin also promote ethylene synthesis. Auxin is another plant hormone which we have studied. It tells that it promotes the ethylene synthesis and being a gas. So ethylene is a gaseous, basically gaseous hormone. So being a gas, ethylene moves by diffusion from its site of synthesis. So the next, the flow chart here depicts the biosynthesis of ethylene, that how the ethylene is being formed. So methionine is the first precursor of the ethylene. So in the first step, the ethylene biosynthetic pathway, methionine gets converted into S-adenosyl methionine, that is ADOMET. It is, the full form is S-adenosine methionine. The rate limiting step in this pathway is the conversion of ADOMET to 1-aminocyclopropane to 1-carboxylic acid, that is ACC. So which is catalyzed by the enzyme ACC synthase. This is catalyzed by the enzyme known as ACC synthase. So the last step in the pathway is the conversion of ACC to ethylene. So this step requires oxygen and it is catalyzed by the enzyme ACC oxidase. So the conversion of ethylene is being taken place, and this enzyme which leads to the synthesis of ethylene is basically ACC oxidase. So this is how the conversion is being taken place by the from the conversion of ACC to ethylene. So methionine, if someone asks you what is the first precursor, In ethylene biosynthesis, it is the methionine which gets converted into adomate, then it gets converted into ACC, and then it gets converted into ethylene. Then we will discuss some of the psychological effects, that is abscission, flowering, epinesty, rooting, and fruit ripening. So all these we will be discussing in detail. First we will take as abscission. So before going in detail that what ethylene plays role in abscission, first we will understand what is abscission. So the shedding of leaves, fruits, flowers and other plant organs is called abscission. It occurs at a specialized layer of cell, the abscission layer. So basically what uh, happens is they occur at a specific layers, that is abscission layers, then abscission, that shedding of leaves, fruits, flowers and other plants. So what is happening is auxin basically prevents the leaf abscission by maintaining the cells in the abscission zone, which is insensitive to ethylene. So when the auxin level in the leaf decline, the tissue becomes sensitive to ethylene, and that promotes abscission by producing and secreting cellulase and other enzymes. So all these has been written here, which I have told, that auxin levels in the leaf declines and the tissue becomes more sensitive to ethylene, and that promotes abscission basically. And this is how by producing cellulase and other enzyme, the ethylene promotes the abscission. So next we will be talking about the flowering. Next is flowering. So ethylene, what the role plays here in flowering is, ethylene basically induces the flowering in the mango and the pineapple family. So if there are two examples which is being taken, the first is mango, the second is pineapple. There are two families in which the ethylene induces the flowering. In monoecious plants that have separate male and female flowers, ethylene may change the sex of developing flowers. So ethylene can change the sex of the developing flowers. The promotion of female flower formation in cucumber is one of its effects. So cucumber is the next example which I have taken, that the promotion of female flower formation in cucumber is one of the example of this effect. Then comes the epinesty. Epinesty is basically the downward curvature of the leaves that occur when the upper side grows faster than the lower side, and this is known as epinesty. So how the how ethylene plays the role in the epinesty is, ethylene induces the epinesty. So here is the definition of epinesty, that what is epinesty, and then how the ethylene plays the role in the epinesty. Then comes the next is the rooting. So what happens is, ethylene basically induces the advantageous roots and root hair formation. Root hairs are basically the tubular projections which originates from the specialized subset of root epidermal cells, and that increase the surface area of the roots, thereby increasing their absorptive capacity for water and the nutrients. So what happens is, ethylene basically induces the advantageous root and root hair formation. Then comes the next main function, the psychological effect is the fruit ripening. Fruit ripening is considered as the major function in case of ethylene. So ripening in the fleshy fruits includes the changes such as the color development. They includes the softening, starch hydrolysis, sugar accumulation, then production of aroma compounds and disappearance of organic acids and phenolic compounds. Including tannins. So basically the loss of green pigment at the onset of ripening is caused by the degradation of chlorophyll and the conversion of chloroplast to chromoplast. So what ethylene does is, ethylene accelerates the process associated with ripening in many fleshy fruits. So ethylene accelerates the process with ripening in many fleshy fruits. A dramatic increase in ethylene production also accompanies the initiation of ripening. So if there is an increase in the ethylene production, that will also leads to the initiation of the ripening. And all the fruits that ripen in response to ethylene exhibit a characteristic respiratory rise before the ripening phase, which is called as climacteric, which is called as climacteric. This is called as climacteric. In this, what happens is, when the fruits ripen in response to ethylene, they exhibit a respiratory rise before the ripening phase. So this is known as climacteric. The examples of this includes the apple, banana and tomatoes. So these are all the examples of climacteric fruits. And in case if we talk about the citrus fruits and grapes, then they do not exhibit the respiration and ethylene production because they are non-climacteric fruits. So the apple and banana and tomatoes, they are climacteric fruits, and the basically the grapes and the citrus fruits do not exhibit this response of ethylene production rise because they are non-climacteric fruits. So these were all the references which I have included. Thank you.